All right, thank you very much. So our topic is the influence of smart technologies on supply chain resilience, capability, the moderating and mediating roles of Technostress and Ergonomics in the media industry. And the presenters are Martin, Toku, Elviis, and Malik. And I'm here with Malik this afternoon. Yeah, so as a way of introduction and background, there are many smart technologies, which includes artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning, digital transformation, and the rest. But interestingly, because this context of this research is in the media space, disinformation and misinformation and fake news is really changing the space, because sometimes this news is created mischievously and it is spread by social media. And because social media is convenient, people are able to use it to spread fake news that much. And as a result of this, it impacts both organizations and individuals, because sometimes you get the fake news and you are not able to, as it were, know whether it is proper news, or because somebody creates it with AI, organization will have to develop resilience capabilities within your supply chain to be able to deal with this fake news and misinformation. The literature that was looked at, which generated this study, created, by looking at the literature, a gap was found, both a context gap and methodological gap, and as well as an objective gap. So studies that have been done from 2020 through 2000 and up to 2025, and the context South Africa, Czech Republic, United States, and others were just bibliometric analysis and systematic review. So I'm looking at the context of that West African sub-region and also qualitative research. There are two major theories that underline this research, and the theory of diffusion, which applies new ideas and technology to be able to spread through social systems, and the theory of planned behavior, which is a framework that deals with people's behavior, their subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. Now, if you look at the conceptual framework and the theories that I'm using to explain this framework, I hypothesize that smart technologies positively influences supply chain resilience, and the same smart technologies positively influences the ergonomics or the working environment of media practitioners. And there is a mediation effect, and ergonomics influences supply chain capabilities, and there's a mediating effect between smart technologies and supply chain resilience capabilities. And the fourth and the last hypothesis is the moderating effect. How does technostress and the use of technology within the working environment moderates the relationship between smart technology and supply chain resilience? So if you look at hypothesis 1 and hypothesis 2, the theory of diffusion is used to explain this relationship, and hypothesis 3, 4 is planned behavior, and hypothesis 5 deals with both theories. I have hypothesized it, and these are the hypotheses that have been written. This research is quantitative, and where the sample was picked, there are quite a number of media landscape, which included radio stations, book outlets, online, newspaper, podcast, television, and social media platforms. And if you look at it, you see that it is heterogeneous in nature. 150 questionnaires were administered, and the Eastern region, which is the third largest region in Ghana, was picked because of the nature of the heterogeneity within that space. Out of this 120 questionnaires were responded to, which represented 80% of the respondent rate. Smart PLS was used to do the analysis, and the constructs that were understudied, which included smart technology to supply chain resilience, I needed to validate this construct, and by doing so, I had to do a variance extracted, average variance extracted, and also funnel lacquer. And the thresholds that goes with AVE is 0.5. So all these constructs that were used, Ergonomics, Technostress, all of them passed the test of AVU, their discriminant validity. And if you look at the table of convergent validity, where I looked at the items that were used to measure the construct, all the factor loadings also passed because the threshold is 0.7, and all of the questions that were asked in relation to the constructs were more than 0.7. The construct reliability is also more than the threshold according to TEL 2023. It is 0.7, and the construct reliability is above 0.7 by looking at the table. And the CA, which is the construct alpha, how do you call it? Testing the validity of the construct also passes, the CA also passes 0.7, which reinforces that all the questions that were asked in relation to the constructs are valid in this research. Now, a look at the path that were hypothesized. So I hypothesized in the first hypothesis that there's a relationship between technostress, smart technologies, and supply chain resilience is positive, and the results showed and is supported. And the same way I hypothesized that the relationship between smart technologies and ergonomics is also supported. The relationship between the third hypothesis is also supported, and the ergonomics actually mediates the relationship between smart technologies and supply chain resilience. When it comes to the moderation, it's actually positive, but it's not supported because the values are below the threshold of the T value and the beta value. And this is the structural resource of the research. Now, by way of discussion, the theory of diffusion in the context of smart technologies is supported by other studies that have been done. So the relationship that existed between both smart technologies and ergonomics and smart technologies and resilience capability is supported with other research. But like it was anticipated, misinformation and disinformation distort the media landscape. And it is important that corporate media organizations will build resilience capability within their space. Social media platforms have become potential to spread bad news. And so organizations, for them not to be really punished, have to look at the way to prevent these bad news from spreading so that they don't have to pay huge fines. This study is also consistent with other studies, and the questions that were asked in relation to supply chain capabilities was to be able to deal with disruptions responsive and also absorb any negative news that is spread. And these are supported within the space of the other research. The study also established that there's a mediating role between ergonomics and supply chain capability, and that is supported by other research. Now, it is intriguing to know that although the moderating is positive, it is quite minimal. So what are the implications for managerial? Those in the media landscape will have to, as it were, build supply chain capability resilience so that they can mitigate their supply chain emergencies. Because if you don't do that, you are going to have a lot of issues in relation to that with other people. Because if you spread bad news, you can be sued as an organization, and it's important for them to look at this very carefully. Thank you very much for the audience.